Welcome back to Old School Sports and our Out of the Park Baseball 26 mini-series with the Los Angeles Angels. And we are just past the trade deadline, August 1st, 2028. And our Angels are tied for the American League West lead with the Seattle Mariners. Also tied with the Mariners for the best record in baseball. So with about 2 months left in the season, seems pretty likely that we will be a playoff team. The question is whether we'll potentially win the division and possibly have home field advantage throughout the playoffs, or end up second in the division and having to play in a wild card series. We do have some help that hopefully will be on the way in the not too distant future. Jacob deGrom, who we signed earlier this year when he lingered on the market because he was injured with a torn labrum suffered late last year. Only a day away from potentially beginning a rehab assignment, about a month away from the return of Ben Joyce, who could be an important reliever again for us. Our young center fielder, Andres Rodriguez, unfortunately going to be out for the next 2 weeks. Just put him on the IL earlier today. And then we made one trade before the trade deadline, picking up Matt Wallner from the Yankees. Hopefully will be a small upgrade for us in left field, but unfortunately he's going to be injured for about a week with a torn hammy that's kept him out since early July. But hopefully those guys will be able to help us, and then still have some hope that we'll be getting some help from our AAA club when we get to September roster expansion. Sean Gamble, probably the most notable player down there, the number 22 prospect in baseball, who we picked second overall 3 years ago in 2025, hitting .373 in his first 83 at-bats at the AA level, or at the AAA level. He progressed through AA and into AAA this year. Still working on getting him as competent defensively across a number of positions, but a very good defensive player with good speed. The bat looks pretty average-ish, except for the fact that we think he can be a decent contact hitter. So still have high expectations that the left-handed hitting middle infielder could be a pretty useful player for us, possibly as early as this September. Another guy who we're continuing to follow closely is our first-round pick from a year ago out of Stanford, Jake Riley, who's now 6-2 with a 5.75 ERA in AAA Salt Lake after he too earned a promotion from AA. Has put up a 1.7 WAR there, and his Sierra is a very strong 2.92, so he's actually pitching much better than his numbers would tend to indicate. I think that 355 BABIP against him is a number that's probably somewhat elevated and should normalize towards something more appropriate if he gets a little luckier, and perhaps also a bit elevated just because he's playing in the PCL, although that would not really be an anomaly there. That would just be because it's generally a very high-scoring league. So those two and some others should be able to help us, but hope is that by the time we get to September, we'll have separated ourselves from the Mariners a bit. We've got 2 more games to play against them. We lost yesterday on July 31st in 10 innings at Seattle. And then we'll start a nice long homestand with 4 against Houston, 3 against KC, and 3 against Toronto. Heading back out on the road to the East Coast, we'll have Tampa, Atlanta, and Washington before 3 more against Seattle at home, and then 3 against the Giants to finish off this month of August and get to September roster expansion. And as we noted, definitely would expect to be seeing the return of 2 or 3 guys this month off of the IL if all goes well, and then hopefully would see Ben Joyce back sometime in early September. And we did win the final 2 games of the Seattle series, and after they beat us in extra innings, a couple more one-run games, but we won 1-0 and 3-2. deGrom just about to begin a rehab assignment, so we've opened up a 2-game lead on the Mariners with these wins in games 2 and 3 of that series. Hopefully we can have a successful homestand over the next 10 games. And who knows, by the time we're going on the road, perhaps DeGrom will be ready to join us. And DeGrom went just 2 innings in his first rehab start, just 32 pitches, allowed 3 hits, including a homer, did strike out 2. We're going to request an updated scouting report on him to hopefully get that scouting accuracy up to very high. He is now wrecked in terms of his injury proneness, no shock there. But if his stuff and his control are still both above average and well above average, I think he can probably be a pretty interesting pitcher for us down the stretch, even though he is a guy who looks like he's probably going to give up a few home runs at this point in his career. Good news also outside of DeGrom on the injury front. Just heard that Ben Joyce is recovering well and he could be back in about 2 weeks. So it's conceivable that all 4 of the guys that we talked about who were on the IL at the start of this month could be back before the end of August. And we ended up taking 3 out of 4 at home against Houston. So 2 straight wins against divisional rivals, taking 2 out of 3 in Seattle, and then 3 out of 4 against Houston. So we've extended the lead on the now struggling Mariners to 3.5 games for not just the AL West title, but also for the best record in baseball. Vlad Guerrero Jr. continues to completely rake, was just named American League Player of the Week. Hit .500 with a couple homers and 6 ribbies last year. And taking a look at the standings now, leading the league in batting average, leading the league in ribbies, and leading the league in OPS as he's finally producing the way that we had perhaps hoped he would when we signed him as a free agent after the 2025 season. And we did get an updated scouting report on DeGrom. His stuff seems to have regressed a little bit, but still has a excellent fastball and slider to go with a marginal curveball and changeup. Not a ton of stamina, but still think that this is a guy who could certainly take over at the back end of our rotation and give us a little bit of insurance against injury if we can build him up effectively over his next few starts and keep him healthy. And another really good week in the books. We ran our winning streak to 7 straight with 5 consecutive wins this week before dropping the final game of the homestand against Toronto. But overall, an 8-2 homestand, certainly something that we will take. Not a shock that we once again had a AL Player of the Week, Zach Neto, 11 for 23 with a couple of homers, 8 ribbies, and 10 runs scored. So a really nice week from Neto, and definitely starting to separate a bit from the Mariners. 5.5 game lead on them. They continue to have the second best record in all of baseball, but right now it's looking like they might be the hard luck division loser who ends up in a wild card series rather than our Angels, who are still poised to hopefully win a second straight division and do it while clinching home field advantage throughout the playoffs if all goes well. Only bad news is DeGrom just made his 3rd start yesterday, and he only was able to go 25 pitches out for most of the rest of this week with a dead arm. So 0-1, but has lowered the ERA to 3.24 with 9 strikeouts over the 8 1/3 innings that he's pitched. So probably going to just move him to the majors when he comes back. He's wrecked physically, already having some more issues. Don't know at the age of 40 how many pitches are left in his arm, but probably want them to be at the major league level until the DeGrominator perhaps completely and finally runs out of gas as a professional pitcher. And our Angels continue to play very well. Swept a series in Tampa, although we did just lose the first game of a 3-game road trip to Atlanta. Good news that DeGrom is now as healthy as he'll probably ever be at this point in his career. So we are going to let him start his first game of the majors this season for us today against the Braves. We did unfortunately have to put Taj Bradley on the IL. He's been fighting a strained oblique for the last couple of weeks. We've tried to have him pitch through it, but recovery time is unknown. And with the fact that DeGrom is back, I want to make sure that we get Bradley back at 100% for the playoffs. If we were already to September call-ups, might have made a different decision about it, but we didn't have an obvious guy to send down to the minors because our pitchers have been pitching pretty well this year. So instead, we'll ensure that Bradley can hopefully recover fully from that torn oblique, and we'll likely be seeing him in early September. And unfortunately, we did have a rough series in Atlanta against the Braves. Lost 3 games over the last 3 days, which is more than we had lost in the first 17 days of August. So as we sit here on August 21st, fortunately for us, the Mariners continue to sink in the standings. They're now 7.5 games behind us, and they no longer have the second best record in baseball. The Diamondbacks and Orioles, both at 72 and 52, are the closest team to our Angels in the standings, and they are 7.5 games behind as well, but percentage points ahead of the Mariners in terms of their overall record. Guerrero continues to lead the league in ribbies and OPS, tied for the league lead in batting average with 28 home runs. Not impossible that he could be a candidate for the Triple Crown if he gets really hot in September, but somewhat unlikely. Schwellenbach, third in the league in ERA, tied for the league lead in wins with Crochet and Sale, who's now with the Yankees. Duran is second in the league in saves behind Mason Miller, who's also with the Yankees. Always good to see the Yankees spending money, but they are 6.5 games out in the AL East and 2 games out of the final wild card spot as we sit here on August 21st. And we continue to play great baseball, and we took 2 out of 3 in Washington to finish up that road trip, and then we swept Seattle in 3 games at home. Those were critical with them second in the division to us, but at this point they are only half a game out of third, so our magic number down to 21, 11.5 games up on the Mariners, who have just totally fallen apart over this month of August while we've been playing some excellent baseball. Second best record in the AL and second best record in baseball is the Orioles at 75 and 55. So we are 10.5 games ahead of them at this point. I'll make that 9.5 games ahead of them if I could do some simple math. But still a pretty significant lead over the Orioles, and feeling pretty confident that we're going to get the Division One and hopefully have home field advantage for as long as this Angels team is in the playoffs this year. Got 3 games to get through at home against San Francisco before the calendar is going to flip to September, and we're going to get to think about some September call-ups. And we only won one of the final 3 games of the month against the Giants, but we have moved to September 1st, so we'll be thinking about September roster expansion, and fortunately Taj Bradley looks healthy now, so we'll certainly be bringing him back. Jacob deGrom dealing with an oblique strain. He only went 7 pitches a couple of days ago. 3 starts at the major league level, 0-1 record with a 4 ERA. He's only pitched 9 innings over those 3 starts, but certainly the fact that he pitched just 7 pitches a couple days ago impacts those numbers negatively. He's been a slightly above average pitcher in terms of his ERA plus, well above average in his FIP minus. He has struck out 10, so decent start for him. We'll also check in on what Matt Wallner's been doing. He's hitting just a .193 since we brought him over, only 1 homer and 4 ribbies and 57 at-bats. So we had been getting below replacement level play as left field from Nolan before we traded him away. His was largely driven by his defense with solid offense. with Wallner, although we expected some solid offense from him. Haven't seen it quite yet. I think we'll continue to play him against right-handed pitching, given that he's got a little pop in the bat, pretty decent gap power, and I think that he should perform better than he has for us thus far. Not surprisingly, he struck out 26 times in 57 at-bats. I guess even for someone with his poor avoid strikeouts ranking, that's a troubling number. But hopefully we'll get a little more from him. The team is playing incredibly well as we sit here on September 1st. 11-game lead over the Rangers. And the second best record in baseball is now tied between the Orioles and the Red Sox at 77 and 57. They are both 9 games behind us, so our magic number for the division down to 19, and certainly think we're very well positioned to clinch the division and clinch home field advantage throughout the playoffs over the next few weeks. Quick look at the schedule for this month, and we'll obviously come back and let you know what we decided to do as far as the players we're bringing up and any changes to our rotation, bullpen, or lineup. Not a lot of divisional games, oddly. We're going to be at Detroit and at Toronto and at Philly on a long East Coast trip, home against Cincinnati, and then 4 division games against Texas, on the road against Minnesota, and then 3 divisional games against the A's. Finish up the month home against the Dodgers and home against Arizona. And that will be the end of the season. So feeling pretty good about our chances right now. Second in the American League in runs scored, first in runs allowed. So our 86 and 48 record is a little below expectations, but we've played over 700 ball now 2 straight months, 20 and 6 in July and 19 and 8 in August. And we've made our decisions for September roster expansion. We'll tell you the 2 big guys that aren't coming up. Sean Gamble, still very successful in AAA Salt Lake, hitting .341 and 179 at-bats, but given that we're committed to seeing how Wallner works out, and that Gamble really is not quite ready to face major league left-handed pitching, going to let him play the rest of the season down in AAA. Similarly, Jake Riley, another former number 1 overall pick, has run the record to 7-2 in AAA with a 4.83 ERA, but our pitching is so deep right now that don't really feel a need to bring him up. Has made some progress. I believe last time we looked at him, his movement was only a 45, so he is progressing well. Both Gamble and Riley are going to have prime spots in the development lab this offseason, but for the time being, not quite ready to promote them to the majors. So taking a look at what we did do, did bring Taj Bradley off of the IL. He's back as our number 2 starter. So Schwellenbach, Bradley, King, Scott, and DeGrom are our 5 starters right now. That meant we pushed Contreras into a middle relief role, even though he's hit a very solid year for us as our 5th starter, 12 and 8 with a 3.68 ERA, but do feel that DeGrom potentially has more top-end potential. And we also did bring Ben Joyce up from the minor leagues where they were starting him from time to time, which I don't really understand. But he's had a rough time in the minors, but he's actually been very effective in his small sample size when he's been healthy in the majors this year. Position-wise, also brought up 2 players, but no changes to our starting lineup. Brought David Mershon back up. He was with us earlier in the season, hit over 300 in AAA and 334 at-bats there. Similar defensive quality and diversity to Gamble, but he's 3 years older than Gamble, and we don't really care if Mershon is not playing every day. And we also reunited with Anthony Scull. You may remember we had him up late in July and early in August when we had center fielder Rodriguez on the IL, and Skull was actually pretty productive, hit 364 and 44 at-bats for us before he got caught up in a numbers game. So hopefully he'll contribute coming off the bench and give us a pretty solid defensive outfielder in center field if Rodriguez needs a day off. Rodriguez on a hot streak right now, continues to develop well, has the batting average up to 256 with 24 homers and 51 ribbies in his rookie year. Scored 86 runs, so definitely has an outside chance at getting to 100 on the season. If he stays healthy, he probably will get there. Wouldn't even call it an outside chance. Stolen 11 bases. Overall, he's put up a 137 WRC plus and a 4.7 WAR as a rookie. So given that one of the owner goals we had for this season was to improve and upgrade center field, Rodriguez doing a great job of that for us. Somehow, though, despite the fact that we've got the best record in baseball, poised to win a second consecutive AL West, our fan interest continues to deteriorate. I think it was about 86 at the beginning of the year, and it's declined to 78, unfortunately. Unfortunately, lost the first game of the month of September to Detroit 6-1, and Drake Baldwin on the IL for about 2 weeks with a herniated disc in his neck. He's been our starting catcher against right-handed pitching all season, been league average offensively, put up over 2 wins above replacement level, so he has been solid, albeit unspectacular for us. Lets us bring up Miguel Palma, who we picked up in a trade at the beginning of last offseason with Minnesota to give us a little organizational depth. He was pretty close to a league average catcher in AAA for us this year. Given that Juan Flores has not been particularly effective this year, hitting just 200, and he's been below replacement level, we're going to give Palma the opportunity to play against right-handed pitching and continue to play the better defensive hitting Flores against left-handed pitching. Actually, we're not going to do that. He's been so bad, we're going to play Palma every day and use Flores as a defensive backup since he's had an opportunity to be our everyday starter against left-handed pitching, and he's been brutal against right-handed pitching and still well below average offensively against left-handed pitching in his opportunities this year. So might as well see what Palma can do. Hard to imagine he's going to be worse offensively than the 42 WRC plus that Flores has put up. Still have Flores as a defensive substitute, and still think that hopefully when Mr. Baldwin gets back, we'll have a decision to make because Flores has been cold. He's still the best defensive catcher we have, so I think I'm inclined to keep him on the roster, but Palma definitely has an opportunity over the next couple of weeks to impress us with his bat. And we lost 2 out of 3 in Detroit to get the month started. Lead on the Mariners, 9.5 at this point. The Orioles, the second best record in baseball, just barely ahead of the Phillies, the Cubs, and the Mariners at this point at 78 and 59. So we're 9 games up on the Orioles for the best record in baseball, 9.5 up on the Mariners for the division. Magic number is 16, really not moving as dramatically in our favor as we would hope at this point. And we took both series over the next week, though. Won 2 out of 3 in Toronto and then 2 out of 3 in Philadelphia, so we handled that road trip pretty well. 7-game homestand this week, 3 against the Reds and then 4 against the Rangers. After the 4-2 week, the magic number down to 10, still 9.5 up on the Mariners for the division title. And we're 9.5 up on both the Mariners and the Cubs now for the best record in baseball. Guerrero leading the league in hitting, tied for the league lead in ribbies, and leading the league in OPS. Christian Scott now leading the league in wins, Joan Duran second in saves. Schwellenbach looks like he's been struggling lately as he's dropped off the leaderboard for both wins and earned run average. And unfortunately, a significant injury here. Cade Smith, the reliever, who's had a really big year for us, playing as a stopper from time to time, has pitched 72 games for us, 87 innings pitched, 3.31 ERA, struck out 109 batters in those 87 innings, only allowed 68 hits and 4 homers, so a 1.16 whip, 125 ERA plus, 59 FIP minus, and a 2.5 WAR. Unfortunately, going to be out for the next 4 weeks with a sore elbow. The hope is that he'll be about ready to come back about the time we'll be beginning a playoff series, which presumably will be a division series at home with home field advantage. The extra time off by avoiding the wildcard series hopefully will mean that Smith is healthy and well by the time we need him again, but certainly not a great thing to have him suffer a sore elbow with just a few weeks left in the season. And with the injury to Cade, we are going to bring up the left-hander Jake Riley, put him into a middle relief and long relief role. He finished 8-2 with a 4.39 ERA at AAA Salt Lake. So the 23-year-old who was picked 14th overall about 15 months ago is now going to get an opportunity to make his major league debut over these coming weeks. And Drake Baldwin ready to come back. Unfortunately for Miguel Palma, he's hit just a .138 in his first 29 major league at-bats, so hasn't made a compelling case. Said I didn't think he could do worse than the 42 WRC plus that we had been getting from Flores, but he proved me a liar, putting up a 30 in his first 9 major league games. So we will send Palma back down to AAA and promote Baldwin back to the major league roster off of the IL. And unfortunately, as it seems to tend to happen, another pretty significant injury here in mid-September. Michael King, bone chips in his elbow, is going to be out for 6 weeks. He was 8-3 with a 3.26 ERA, put up a 3.5 WAR for us for the second consecutive season. So definitely disappointing to be losing our number 3 starter this close to the playoffs, but we signed DeGrom to hopefully give us some insurance around these kinds of things happening, and we did also just promote the youngster Riley, so hopefully we'll still have some options, but certainly disappointing that in a season where we're trying to win it all, we've just lost a pretty significant starter. And he's likely done for the year. Maybe some outside chance if we make it to the World Series that he'd be back. But the season probably over for Michael King. And with that injury, we brought Sam Aldegari back. He was with us for good chunk of this year, put up a 5.86 ERA over 35 1/3 innings, was pretty productive in AAA Salt Lake, but the 26-year-old lefty has just never consistently established himself as a major leaguer with us. And rather than putting Contreras back in the rotation, we're going to give Jake Riley an opportunity to make his initial major league starts as our number 5 starter over these next few weeks with King now injured. Can see DeGrom has the ERA down to 3.15, although he's basically been a 4-inning pitcher on average. But as we noted earlier, there was one 7-pitch outing in there. So hopefully by the time we get to the end of the season and into the playoffs, he'll be able to give us 5 innings as a starter if we need him to be a starter for us, which with the injury to King is very possible at this point. And we ended up with a 4-3 homestand, took 2 out of 3 against Cincinnati, and then we split 4 games with Texas. At this point, would love to be playing better than 4-3 ball, but we've got such a big lead in the division, it probably doesn't matter. 9 games up on the Mariners now, and the magic number is down to just 4. The Red Sox, second best record in baseball at this point, but we're 8.5 games better than Boston. So feeling pretty confident we're going to end up not just winning the division, but clinching home field advantage throughout the playoffs over the next week and a half. 2 weeks left in the season. Guerrero looking to lead the league in both homers and ribbies, second in OPS. Also would be the only 300 hitter in the American League. Similar tale over in the NL, where only James Wood is hitting over 300. Christian Scott with 16 wins, still leading the league in Ws. Joan Duran second in saves. So few more Angels this year on the leaderboard than we've typically had over the first 3.5, actually about 3.75 or even more of the season. I guess with only 2 weeks left, we're almost 4 seasons into this, but certainly the most successful season is now in the books. We were a 94-win team a season ago, 95-55 at this point with 12 games to go. Good news is we continue playing well. Took 2 out of 3 in Minnesota, and we won the first game of the final road trip of the regular season against the Athletics. Unfortunately, the injuries continue to build up. Hopefully this one not too serious, though. Anthony Volpe with a bruised thigh going to impact him for about a week. So given that we've got both Castro and Mershon on the team as pure utility infielders who aren't in the lineup against either righties or lefties, we're going to give Volpe the next week off and don't really have much to play for at this point. The magic number down to 1 is, even though we've been 3-1 over our last 4, the Mariners have won every game, but pretty confident that with the fact that we have 8 games left in the season, we're going to be able to get at least 1 win or have the Mariners lose at least 1 game to clinch the division title. And given that the Mariners are now the second best team in baseball, when we clinch the division, we're also going to clinch the best record in baseball. Guerrero Jr. still looking like he's going to have a batting title and lead the league in ribbies. 34 home runs, so some guys are pretty far ahead of him with just 8 games to go, so it will not be a triple crown type season for Guerrero, unfortunately. And the injuries keep coming. Jacob deGrom, tired arm, going to need a week to recover. Substantial impact on his throwing, so we are going to just shut him down. He's wrecked physically. 1-2 record with a 3.9 ERA over 27 2/3 innings in the majors this year. Probably going to be our number 4 starter come playoff time with the injury to Michael King. So at this point, the goal is just to keep him healthy. So as I said, we're going to shut him down, probably move Contreras back into the rotation to make one final start for us this year. And hopefully we can keep everybody as healthy over these next 7 games that we've got left. We did beat the A's in the second game of the series, so we have now clinched the best record in baseball and our second straight AL West title. Only question now is whether we're going to win one more game over the course of the season to get to 100 wins on the year. And I think we're going to be the only 100-win team in Major League Baseball here in 2028. And it ended up another real successful week, 4-2 on that final road trip of the season, taking series against both the Twins and the A's. So just 6 games left, all against NL West foes, hosting Dallas and Arizona. As we noted, we've clinched the division, clinched the best record in baseball. Only question is whether Guerrero's going to lead the league in both batting average and ribbies and OPS. And question whether Christian Scott will be able to break the tie with Garrett Crochet to lead the league in wins. Also hope that we get to 100 wins overall. Some good news, the youngster Andres Rodriguez just hit .417 this past week with 4 homers, 6 ribbies, 8 runs scored to win American League Player of the week, Rodriguez probably starting to make a pretty strong case to be Rookie of the Year with a 5.7 WAR on the season. Has the batting average up to 258. 32 homers. He is over 100 runs scored, stole 13 bases. So a 139 WRC plus at this point with 6 games left in the rookie year for the guy that we got 6th overall back in 2026 and has had a pretty rapid rise through our organization. And another injury as we head into the final week of the season, Kyle Tucker, wrist tendonitis, moderate impact on his throw-in, given that we're really not playing for anything at this point. We're going to shut him down until the playoffs as well. I ended up hitting 246 this year, 26 homers, 85 ribbies, 108 WRC plus is the worst of his 3 years with us here in Los Angeles. But he did put up a 3.2 WAR, which was the best of his 3 years. He had to play a lot of center field for us the last couple seasons. With the emergence of Rodriguez this year, got to move him to right field, where he is a above average fielder. Put up a 9.6 zone rating, 1.051 defensive efficiency. So he has been positive for us defensively in right field, as opposed to the negative metrics he was putting up as a center fielder much of the last couple of seasons. And with the injury to Tucker, we've actually decided to call up Sean Gamble from AAA, so he's going to get to make his major league debut as well. Ended up hitting 351 and 262 at-bats in AAA for us this year. And given that we're not really playing for anything, we're going to let him be our everyday right fielder, and we're actually going to bat him in Tucker's number 3 hole against right-handed pitching. See what he can do in his first experience in the major leagues. And although we did lose the first game of the final homestand to the Dodgers, so we're still stuck at 99 wins. Good news, Cade Smith should be back in about 5 days. So although he's unlikely to pitch again in the regular season, should be ready to go come playoff time, which is going to be important since he's been such a big part of our bullpen this year. And another minor injury, Royce Lewis, sprained ankle, going to impact him for 3 days. So we are going to shut him down as well for these last 3 games against Arizona. We took only 1 out of 3 against the Dodgers, did get to 100 wins. So got the division clinched, got the best record in baseball clinched. The only goal right now is to keep the team healthy, although Guerrero Jr. now in a 3-way tie to lead the league in ribbies. So Garcia and Langford have been driving in some runs recently. The rookie Andres Rodriguez now 3rd in the American League in batter WAR behind J-Rod and Gunnar Henderson. And after losing 2 out of 3 to the Dodgers, we took 2 out of 3 at home against Arizona. So we finished the year 102 and 60. Best record in baseball, 2nd consecutive division title. Unfortunately, Guerrero down the stretch of the season slowed down a bit, although he did hit 300, finishes 2nd in the batting race and 2nd in ribbies behind Wyatt Langford in both categories. Also 2nd in OPS on the season. Still the best year that we've gotten from Vlad Guerrero Jr. since we picked him up. Christian Scott did end up leading the league with 17 wins. Duran 2nd in the American League with 37 saves. Quick look at how the team statistics ended up this year. We were definitely somewhat more average in September and October, a combined 16 and 12 over the final month plus of the season. But overall, our 102-60 in record, as we talked about, the best in baseball, a couple below Pythagorean expectations, 2nd in the AL in runs scored, and we are in the top 5 in all of the major offensive categories. Also 5th in steals, middle of the pack in base running, middle of the pack in defensive efficiency and zone rating, but finished 1st in the American League in runs allowed, and top 4 in all of the pitching categories except for BABIP, where we were middle of the pack in 9th. So excellent regular season for our Angels is complete. We're going to have that first round bye to hopefully ensure that everyone is healthy and well come playoff time. Unfortunately, Cade Smith is now unknown as far as his injury return, even though we had gotten that report that he was getting close. Kyle Tucker a day away, so we'll definitely have him back. And everyone else is healthy and well as well, including DeGrom, who we ended up pitching one of the final games of the season. Finished 1-2 with a 3.82 ERA. As we noted, with the injury to King, likely to be our fourth starter come playoff time. Check in on a couple of the other interesting players that we added. Jake Riley ended up starting 2 games for us down the stretch, was not involved in... Did go 2-0 actually. I was reading things wrong. So 2-0 in the 2 games that he started, and he was outstanding with a 1.65 ERA, a ridiculous 0.43 WHIP, allowed just 5 hits, 2 walks while striking out 18 over 16 and a third innings pitched. So a silly 2.51 ERA plus and 50 FIP minus in his introduction to the major leagues. So he was very successful for us. Check in also on the other prominent rookie who made his debut recently, Sean Gamble, 6 for 21, all singles, but held his own, hitting .286 at the major league level as our right fielder with Tucker out. You know, maybe he's made a case to be a utility man for us for the postseason. We'll find out what we're going to do with our 26-man playoff roster at the start of next episode. But at this point, feeling good about where the team is. And hopefully we'll keep those good feelings going for this month of October. Until our next episode, thanks so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.